Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the NFL upholding Azeez Al-Shaair's 3-game suspension. We'll discuss Dak Prescott and his support of Mike McCarthy. We'll talk about the Eagles and them being the best team in the NFC right now. A little bit preview, but whether or not they are the best team in the NFC. We'll discuss Real Madrid's disappointing defeat to Athletic Club. And please stick around for the end of the show where I'll be giving you my reaction to Arsenal defeating Manchester United. Before we start off, if you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. What's it, a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share? Please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Just use the super chat button at the bottom of the chat box. Send in your super chat. This guarantees that your super chat gets read on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead and let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the GSMCpodcast.net to tip, donate, or leave a comment or question there. Again, we couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're extremely grateful to have you as part of our community. But we have to start off with the Houston Texans. Azeez Al-Shaair trying to appeal his initial 3-game suspension brought yesterday. He tried to appeal that. The appeal did not go through. The NFL upheld it, which is quietly surprising because the NFL and the NFLPA, they always are able to get some sort of reduction on these suspensions. It's generally not rare, and I thought there was a possibility that maybe they could have reduced this to 2 games after it was initially a 3-game suspension, but the NFL decided to uphold it. They held strong, and they had some really strong words as well regarding the incident. And then Azeez Al-Shaair, he also went on a little bit of not a rant, but sent a message out on social media, basically saying, trying to create, I guess, a motivation out of this. If you want me to be your villain, I'll be your villain. He posted it on Twitter, on all caps. If you want me to be your villain, I'll be your villain. See you soon, with a few emojis, a middle finger, and a Joker card. This is a big suspension in the fact that we are so late into the season. 3 games takes him out for, the rest of the regular season, barring the season finale against the Tennessee Titans. So obviously, that is some big implications. Azeez Al-Shaair, that hard-hitting linebacker, he is an important part of that Texans defense. I think he's been a solid player for the Texans this season, with him being the newly addition from the Titans. So there's a few ways to go about this. First of all, it was a horrible hit. I mean, it was late. It was dangerous. It led to Trevor Lawrence now being out for the season, with him being on IR. We don't want to see hits like that in today's NFL. Yes. But the hit itself, I think it's a little bit being a little too villainized. Now, definitely it was a suspension worthy, and it was, and don't get me wrong, it was a late hit, horrible. But I think he's getting a little bit more villainized than what it's supposed to. And some of that a little bit has to do with his past. He's already been fined 2 times this season. One actually came in the last game where he hit Tony Pollard a little bit late out of bounds. And then I believe the other one was a sideline incident where he punch someone or through his put his essentially a punch on the sideline, something of that sort. So this is a guy with a little bit of history from this season. He's a player that used to play on the San Francisco 49ers, as y'all know, the team I support. And he was he's a good linebacker. He was a hard hitter here and there, but I really didn't see him as a thumper as a linebacker. I thought, if anything, Dre Greenlaw was more of that, as opposed to Azeez Al-Shaair. But Al-Shaair, he was physical. But to be part of that 49ers team, you have to be physical. And it was important, the physical natures of the linebackers playing outside of Fred Warner, because Fred Warner, despite him being a physically dominant linebacker as well, he's mostly his best ability is his finesse ability, is his coverage ability, is his reading ability, but going back to it, I do have to say, a lot of people are talking about how quarterbacks, I saw a segment, I believe it was Rex Ryan talking about how they need to, get taught how to slide better, or not slide at all. Instead, go, head in first and go for the guy's ankles, because the defender is not going to go in there with that sort of, the defender's going to be scared of his legs, getting cut off. So he's going to, so the defender's not going to go in there with full force and all that. Look, my thing is, the quarterbacks have some culpability in this. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league, and I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence was doing this exactly, but I do think Azeez Al-Shaair, he's having to make a split-second decision, not knowing whether or not Trevor Lawrence will do one of those hesitation half slides we've seen. We've seen Patrick Mahomes, he's done that half slide nonsense so many times. Not just that. Against the 49ers, they don't just use the slide to protect them, the half slide to get extra yards. Against the 49ers, he slowed down, going down the sideline. Everyone thinking, including me watching the game, okay, he's just about to run it out of bounds. He slows down for a bit, lets the defender's momentum get past him, because the defender is afraid of going to crash Mahomes in that moment, because he doesn't want to get caught with a late hit out of bounds. Instead, Patrick Mahomes does that hesitation on the sideline, and he goes and he ends up getting another 30 or so yards and gets them down into the goal line and completely, changes that game. And I just hate how quarterbacks are using rules that are there to protect them, to preserve their longevity for their own benefit and gaining extra yards. And I'm not saying the quarterbacks are morally wrong for doing that or anything. I'm thinking about it logically. If I was in that position, I'll do everything I can to get the advantage for my team. Don't get me wrong, yes. But at the same time, it's just from the defender's point of view, you're just in straight frustration, These rules that are only put in to protect the quarterback, to protect the longevity of the quarterbacks, are being used by the quarterbacks as manipulation techniques to get more yards, by doing the hesitations on the sidelines with defenders scared to get that late hit out of bounds, with doing the fake slides, so that because defenders are scared of what exactly happened to Al-Shaair potentially happening, a hit. I remember, a few years ago, Russell Wilson does one of those fake half slides, and it led to Jimmy Ward getting a flag in a rivalry Seahawks-Niner game. It's just things like that bother me to an extent. So the quarterbacks have a responsibility in this as well. There's, and I saw a clip of Tom Brady saying the quarterbacks need to do a better job of protecting themselves. You damn right they do. You're damn right to do. For them, for people to act like the Trevor Lawrence incident, and I'm not blaming Trevor Lawrence there. I'm blaming quarterbacks in general. Because, you're seeing that play. Trevor Lawrence is not really doing a hesitation. He's going down in the slide. It's a little bit of a late slide, don't get me wrong, but he is sliding. And Al-Shaair is in the wrong for that. But Al-Shaair, in that moment, he's having to make a split-second decision. He's not knowing whether or not Trevor Lawrence is going to do one of those hesitation, fake slides, go up the field and get a little bit more yards like we've seen other quarterbacks do. So I think, in general, the entirety of NFL quarterbacks have culpability in what happened with Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, Al-Shaair deserves his responsibility as well, because that was a dangerous hit, and to go in with your shoulder, it was just really wrong, two ways about it. This villainizing and all that, for me, is too much. D'Amico Ryans after the game saying, the Jaguars sideline overreacted. Well, you know what? Look, D'Amico, I guess I respect you as a coach, but if that happened to C.J. Stroud and your offensive lineman didn't do the exact same thing, or nobody on your team did the exact same thing, well, you'll be questioning the the personality of the players in your locker room. So, let's be objective here. And then Nick Cassero after the game, just saying a whole bunch of nonsense, just a whole bunch of nonsense. For me, it was a lot that the Texans did to make themselves look a little on the bad foot. But yeah, the 3-game suspension though, I think it's I think it is worthy to an extent. I would have probably preferred 2 games, but I think the biggest takeaway here is the fact that the NFL quarterbacks have to stop using rules only put in. The thing that bothers me is these are not rules that they're trying to manipulate. Like the Bill Belichick a few years ago, they eventually changed it where he had the rule, he manipulated the rule in terms of running out the clock, and then it might at the end of before, I think the time was before 5 minutes left was in a ball game, that rule. And then Mike Vrabel ended up using it against him later on that year. It was Bill Belichick, he did it to the Jets earlier on, and then Mike Vrabel ended up using that technique on the Patriots in the wild card round. It was a time-wasting technique because of a loophole in the rules. I don't mind finding things like that because, well, that's just loopholes. These rules are literally being brought in just to protect you. And it's not enough for you to gain the protection from the rules, but you want to use those rules to manipulate it into being able to get more yards. In my opinion, unfair yards. Look, for me, I have a fine line when it comes to within the spirit of the game, gamesmanship, and within the spirits of a game. What Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel did, that's gamesmanship. Ineligible players having an ineligible, tackle and all that, and throwing a touchdown to him, like what the Lions tried to do to the Cowboys in the 2-point conversion last season, ended up getting called ineligible. Things like that, I have no problem with that. That's within the spirit of the game. I don't believe this is within the spirit of the game what quarterbacks do. Try the fake half slides and the hesitations I don't think that's within the spirit of the game. I think it's not cheating because it's not against the rules. I can't sit here and say it's cheating. It's not against the rules, but I think it's against the spirit of what we know football is. So really, that is my biggest takeaway. It's not even the Al-Shaair whole suspension, blah blah blah. For me, all that, look, obviously it's a pity for Al-Shaair and all that, but the biggest thing for me is the quarterbacks need to do a better job of protecting them. Maybe the NFL needs to come in. I don't know how you would govern this because that's a difficult thing to do. But maybe the NFL need to figure out a way to punish these quarterbacks for these half slides and these hesitations on the sideline. Now that's a really, really hard rule to govern, and it leaves a lot of gray area for the referees having to referee. There's no, it's gonna be very, very objective decisions on whether or not a player did a half slide or a player is using, the sideline. Using the sideline as a way to protect himself, as a way to draw defenders away so they can get past them. That's a hard thing to govern, but they have to figure out something because, it's becoming way too tailored to, not just to quarterbacks, but to offense in general. And me personally, I'm getting tired of it, especially the quarterbacks and their, the way that they're, they protect them in the pocket and all that, I guess. They make all the big money and they attract the fans and all that. Protect them. Don't, protect them. These roughing the passers, even though half of them are ridiculous. Okay, whatever. But the fake slides and the hesitations down the sideline, I can't with those anymore. Those are really, really frustrating. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Dak Prescott's support of Mike McCarthy.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed the NFL upholding Azeez Al-Shaair's 3-game suspension. We move on to discuss Dak Prescott coming out in support of Mike McCarthy. Shocking news there. I mean, who would think, the quarterback is going to come out in support of his head coach, who's still right now, his head coach. Such a shocker. But yeah, Dak Prescott came out and, in belief, I guess in a vote of confidence for Mike McCarthy. We know Mike McCarthy right now is on the hot seat with what the Cowboys have been this season and what they have not been able to accomplish in his tenure, and that is to reach the NFC Championship. In fact, they've only won one playoff game in his tenure, despite having 3 seasons and back-to-back 12-win years, and they haven't really accomplished much. It's been really poor, honestly. In terms of their production in the playoffs, their one playoff win under Mike McCarthy came against an 8-9 Buccaneers team that scraped to a division title. So not the biggest, not the hardest playoff game to win. Not saying it's a gimme. It's never a gimme to win a playoff game on the road as they did, but it was an 8-9 ball club. It wasn't really a playoff caliber team. And quite frankly, that's something the Cowboys have not been able to accomplish just in general in Dak Prescott's reign as the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He's been for the Dallas Cowboys now. This is, it almost makes me sound old saying this, but this is Dak's 9th season as the Cowboys quarterback, and they've only won 2 playoff games in his tenure. He's about to be 32 in July, and he's only accomplished 2 playoff wins. And as I said, one of them came against an 8-9 Buccaneers team. And then the other one was a wild card win over the Seahawks at home. Then they went on to lose to the Rams, who ended up going to the Super Bowl that year. The year they lost to the Patriots 13-3. But yeah, it's been a never-ending cycle with these Dallas Cowboys, and we know what the Cowboys are. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are America's biggest failures on the biggest stage. They always disappoint, and and this, quite frankly, look, Mike McCarthy now, they're 5-7. I do have to say, he did win back-to-back 12-win seasons, and I think he's an average or a little bit of above average coach. don't get me wrong, yeah, but the Dallas Cowboys right now, they need someone that can elevate them over the top. And I don't think Mike McCarthy is that coach. I think you put Mike McCarthy on a team like the Chicago Bears, I think he can make them immediately much more of a dangerous outfit than they are right now. Because that's a team with some quality. He's away from the whole circus that is the Dallas Cowboys. And he has a chance to develop a rookie quarterback like Caleb Williams the same way he was able to do in Aaron Rodgers. And I like that prospect of him going to a team like Chicago with a foundation now of players on both sides of the ball. And it's just the fact that it's away from the circus that is the Cowboys. But in the Cowboys, I just think it's run course. He's not a player. He's not a coach that can lift them over the top. He doesn't really fit the whole Cowboy aura. And yeah, Dak Prescott, he shared some really good comments about Mike McCarthy. No surprise there. He said, "I believe in him wholeheartedly. I don't want to necessarily get into the nuts and the screws of it all, obviously, but I think he definitely deserves a chance, another contract, and the chance to coach this team amongst the more influence. On his terms may be a good way to see it, but I wholeheartedly believe in him." And he dropped the interesting nugget there where he said another contract and a good coach a chance to coach this team amongst more influence on his terms may be a good way to say it. That led to Mike McCarthy coming out and disagreeing with Dak Prescott's claim about that influence that he had, which no surprise there, obviously. Mike McCarthy, when he was asked about it, he said he has the most input he has ever had as a head coach in Dallas compared to Green Bay, and he's not sure what Dak Prescott means by needing more influence on his terms. Let's be for real. Mike McCarthy has to say exactly what he's saying there because, look, for Mike McCarthy is employed by Jerry Jones. And for him to, come out and basically, if he agrees with Dak Prescott, he's essentially disagreeing with his owner, Jerry Jones. He's going against his owner, Jerry Jones. Mike McCarthy can't do that because he's on that hot, he's already on the hot seat right now. Dak Prescott can because he just got a, $60 million a year contract, and he has the ability to say what's on his mind openly because, well, the Cowboys owe him $60 million a year. And honestly, I was quite shocked that he said that last bit in there. I definitely think he doesn't have full control of everything. Jerry Jones has a lot. Jerry Jones does a presser after every game, goes on a radio show after every game. Jerry Jones is the most involved owner in the history of sports, in American sports, I have to say. So, yeah, obviously, that was an interesting tidbit there. But again, I just think it's run its course with Mike McCarthy at the Dallas Cowboys. He's not able to elevate them to where the expectations of the Cowboy fans. Now, being for real, the Cowboys they haven't exceeded expectations, but they haven't failed expectations either. They've been exactly what we always expect them to be. A team that has a decent regular season, gets all the fans a bunch of hope that they really shouldn't have, and then when the real big money comes, they get eliminated by the first decent team that they played. The Dallas Cowboys have been eliminated by the first decent team that they played in the last 6 years or so. I mean, it always happens. The first decent team that they played, let's go back. Let's forget that first 10 year of Mike McCarthy where everything fell apart. Dak ended up getting injured, all that. Let's go move on to that next year. They get past, they win the division. I believe they had a 12-win year, right? And then they take on 49ers first round. First decent team they played, they go home at home. Second time around, finish 12-5. They don't end up winning the division because the Eagles have a remarkable season, so they have to go on the road, take on the worst division winner, the 8-9 Buccaneers. Can we say that's a decent team? No, I'm not giving that to them. That's a game that they should have won. And They won, they blew them out, and their kicker missed like 6 PATs or something. Like, it wasn't even a factor, the fact that he missed, that he missed 6 PATs or 5 PATs or something of that. Like, they were just way, way more talented than the Buccaneers. Way better team, And then the first decent team they played that playoffs, the San Francisco 49ers, they go home in an embarrassing way. They only put up 12 offensive points and lose to a rookie quarterback playing to a rookie quarterback. Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy in his first season beats the experienced Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy at the wheel that's won a Super Bowl before. Like, it was an embarrassment. And then the year after that, they scrape by. They win the division. They have a really good regular season. They play these new up-and-coming Packers. And guess what? They lose to another quarterback playing in his first playoffs. And this time was a quarterback making his debut in the playoffs in Jordan Love. And he goes into Dallas and he throws an absolutely, just throws a party. Just completely destroys that Dallas Cowboys team. They put up 48 points. He goes 16 of 21 for 272 yards for 3 touchdowns. They can't stop Aaron Jones, who ends up averaging 5.6 yards a carry that game, gets 3 touchdowns, has 118 yards. Just got completely trounced. They were down 27-0 late in that second quarter. 27-0. The game was over in the second quarter. And then this year, it's all collapsed. They're still 5-7, and I guess they're mathematically still alive to make the playoffs with their last 2 wins that they had against the Commanders and the Giants. But let's be for real, they're not getting into the playoffs. Their only chance is to get in as a wild card, and that's not gonna happen with how the wild cards are looking like right now. That's my deal. This is my thing with the Dallas Cowboys. They always disappoint, and I just think it's good for both sides. I struggle to think whether or not Mike McCarthy will get another job, will get a third job. He's a little bit on the older side of things, and it will be a little bit difficult for him because he's not a, let's say, he's not a sexy name on the market. Mike McCarthy is not someone that you look. He's not a Bill Belichick or a Deion Sanders or anything like that. Is a coach that'll come in and there's that fine. He has a very high floor but a pretty low ceiling. And maybe that's what a team. Maybe that's something that Chicago needs. I think Chicago could really use a Mike McCarthy because, their ceiling in terms of the coaching that they've had in the past few years has been really, really low. Really, 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 really... No, not the ceiling. The floor has been really, really low. So instead of going for a coach that has a high ceiling, could potentially bust, just go for the coach that you get consistency from. So I think the Bears... obviously, if you can get Bill Belichick, that will always be priority number 1. But I think Mike McCarthy deserves a job before Deion Sanders, who's never coached at the NFL level, period. Full stop. This is just my personal belief. And as far as the Dallas Cowboys, they're always going to be a mess. For them, they should go for Deion Sanders. Make that a mess, even more of a bigger mess. Come bring in a guy, a star player that used to play for you, that has all the gravitas and the aura and all that, but does never coach at the NFL level. Bring him. You probably won't be able to get a son because, you're paying your quarterback $60 million. But, Bill Belichick, that's an interesting one. Does Jerry Jones want to do that? Does Bill Belichick want to coach under Jerry Jones? I don't know about that one, but that's also an interesting conversation to have. And yeah, we'll see what the Cowboys do, but I'm really struggling to find any pathway that McCarthy returns as the Dallas Cowboys coach next season. Show breaker coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the Philadelphia Eagles and whether or not they are the second best team they're the best team in the NFC.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Dak Prescott's support of Mike McCarthy. We move on to discuss the Philadelphia Eagles and whether or not they are the best team in the NFC. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles, they've done a remarkable job to climb up from I thought they were in a pretty dark place as a franchise after that, not the Buccaneers wildcard game. I'm talking about that Buccaneers game this season. It was their 4th game of the year. They fell to 2-2, and in that game, they were completely dominated by that Buccaneers team. Especially in that first half, they were leading. They were, they were down as much as 34 to no, not 34. It was down. They were down 24-7 at halftime, and they were really thoroughly outplayed, and they really, really, really struggled. And even in the weeks later, it was, they struggled even in the weeks later. Going up against the Browns, I thought they played a pretty poor game then. Against the Giants, they won that game 28-3, but they struggled in that first half. I believe, it was 14-3 at half, but they didn't really play good football in that game. Didn't really move the ball as I expected them to, but Saquon did have a big one. I think that was Saquon's, redemption game after he cost them that Falcons game earlier on this season. But since then, what they've been able to churn up wins, it was that, for me, that the breakthrough for them was that Cincinnati Bengals game where they went into Cincinnati and they thoroughly dominated the Bengals, and it was an offensive masterclass. It was a great balanced offense. Jalen Hurts was able to go 16 of 20 for 236 yards. Saquon had 22 carries and 180 yards, and it was very good complementary football. They were able to pick off Joe Burrow, turn that into points, and the offense complemented the defense. And it was great. And then they've been able to turn it on since then. They beat the Jaguars despite Nick Sirianni doing everything he can to give the Jaguars the win. They destroyed the Cowboys. They beat the Commanders. Commanders were flying high at that point. They beat the Rams. And then now their biggest win of the season, going into Baltimore and beating the Ravens to improve to 10-2. They are, looking a really good outfit because even last season, offensively, they weren't a bad offensive football team. It was that defense that was atrocious, especially down the stretch. And it seemed like anytime that defense needed to make a play, they didn't. This time around, the defense is making that plays. Jalen Carter has turned it up a notch. That secondary looks like a completely different unit from last year. And then that linebacking core, I don't know if it was the personnel that got better, but it seems like they're just way better. Number one, it starts off from the defensive end. The defensive ends, especially in the run game, they're getting a lot more penetration than they got last season. And it's allowing the linebackers to play up the gaps. It's giving them a little bit more freedom to play up the gaps because of the penetration that the defensive linemen are able to get. Not just talking about the pass rush. I'm talking about in a rushing defense. That defensive line is dominating that line of scrimmage. In the secondary, Reed Blankenship, what a rookie he's been. He's completely changed the game for that Eagles secondary as well. He's always at the right place at the right time. He has a knack for getting on the football. He's good coming up and making plays in the run game as well. it's a different defense under Vic Fangio. And then offensively, they're finding that right balance of not forcing. There was a lot of moments last season, especially late on, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're just because of how awful their defense is, they're getting down in games. They turned into a drop back passing team, and that's not what Jalen Hurts does the best. You know, he's best in a balanced offense where he can use his RPOs, where, you know, everything is balanced and guys can get schemed open, all that. Takes the emphasis off Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts can also use his legs as an impact in the RPO game and all that, and his physicality as a runner. That's his game, and because of Saquon Barkley and how they're able to dominate the line of scrimmage as an offensive line, they're able to be more balanced, which allows Jalen Hurts to get back to playing in his, you know, MVP caliber ways that he was showing us in the year that they reached the Super Bowl. And yeah, it's been, you know, they found that formula that they had in that Super Bowl year. Now, I want to slow down the roll on, are they the best team in the NFC? Well, no, they're not. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles, they've been a lot more balanced and all that. Don't get me wrong, but I still have a hard time choosing them over Detroit just because of how great Detroit has been. And where's the drop-off with the Lions? We have a great game coming up tomorrow, or we're past midnight, so technically today, where they take on the Green Bay Packers. But, bro, the Detroit Lions, I mean, this is an electric offensive team, an absolutely electric team. And I think they have more offensive firepower than Philadelphia. And then defensively, I don't think Detroit is a great defense. I think they're a solid defense. And I think Philadelphia Eagles is a really good defense as well. But I think defensively, they're not that far off each other. But I think definitely Detroit Lions have an offensive firepower advantage with what they can do in terms of the run game, how great Jared Goff has been, how they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, a great possession receiver. They have Jameson Williams, someone that can push the ball down the field, someone that's also a factor on jet sweeps and all that, with trickery and all that. And then Ben Johnson at the wheel with what he's able to scheme up. And then that defense as well, what Detroit has is an opportunistic defense. When they need to come in and lock down for a game, they can hold down the Packers to 14 points. They can hold Indianapolis to 6 points. They can hold Jacksonville to 6. Well, that game was a blowout. Let's forget about that. They can hold the Texans to 23 points, despite Jared Goff giving the Texans 5 extra possessions. They're able to make those opportunistic stops and get certain turnovers that can change a game. You saw Detroit. They have that ability to them. I just think Philadelphia, I'm a little queasy. Yeah, they're 10-2, but not the biggest. Look, I'm not that impressed with the win against the Ravens. I think the Ravens are a team that can be got. We saw Pittsburgh, in Jacksonville. Jacksonville had a chance to win that game at the end because of all of Nick Sirianni buffoonery. We know what Cincinnati is. The Dallas Cowboys, forget about that. Commanders, they look a little iffy. They lost to the Cowboys the week after the Rams. The Rams was a decent win going away, but I don't know. I just feel like the Eagles are lacking that little bit to be able to get past a team like Detroit. I do. I think they are the second best team in the NFC, but there are Minnesota's far from them. I do think Green Bay has an opportunity to challenge Philadelphia for that second spot, though. I think Green Bay is building something now. Recently, with the run that they've been going on, and now they're starting to, Jordan Love is starting to protect the football, and they're starting to dominate games. The last 2 wins have been dominant victories over the Miami Dolphins and the San Francisco 49ers. I talk about the Bears and that Hail Mary lost. That loss that they suffer on a Hail Mary completely changing their season. I think that blocked field goal that the Packers had, to win that game against Chicago in 17th, I think that's something that can change the season for Green Bay. I think, negative plays like that can change your season, but positive plays could also have the same effect the other way. And I think we might be seeing some dividends of that with the Packers right now. But yeah, are they the best team in the NFC? Nah, I'll still give it to Detroit. And as far as the NFL, a lot of people are, talked about the Kansas City Chiefs and saying they've fallen off and all that, but they still have the best record in the league. And until I see someone knock them down in the playoffs, they're the best team in the NFL. They'll stay number one in my power rankings as long as they have the best record in the league. The audacity some people have to say, oh, Philadelphia, the Chiefs have fall off. Well, did you see how they looked throughout the regular season last season, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl? This time around, they're 11-1. Like, what else do you want from Kansas City? Yeah, they don't look dominant in games, but who cares? They built that winning pedigree and winning mentality, and it's gonna be a very, very difficult task for a team to knock them out in the playoffs, because they have this ability to win close games no matter what. That is a skill. And yeah, I send my good luck to the Buffalo Bills, and the Baltimore Ravens, and maybe Detroit if they take them on the Super Bowl, or Philadelphia again. I send them my good luck, but that'll be very, very difficult. A team I do believe will have that chance, though, will probably have the best chance, especially in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers. With the way that they defend, with Russell Wilson's ability not to push down the field, I also think they have the coaching pedigree of Mike Tomlin to be able to match up with Andy Reid. It's a Steelers team. It's a Steelers coaching staff that the moments will not be big for them. And they have the experience to match up with the experience of the Chiefs coaching staff. And the big advantage is the Chiefs, in my opinion, have a psychological hold over the Buffalo Bills, over the Baltimore Ravens. I don't believe they have that same advantage over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, I know they beat them in a playoff game. I think it was 2 seasons ago or so. But that was a Steelers team that sneaked into the playoff as a 7th seed. Like, let's be objective, like the Steelers, they were going to go home no matter what. I think that game finished like 42-7 or something ridiculous like that. Like, throw that out of the backwater. That was not a real game. The Steelers, I don't think the Chiefs have that psychological advantage over the Steelers, because I don't think that's a team, that's not possible with a team coached by Mike Tomlin. So if we get a Steelers-Chiefs playoff game, wherever it's at, I think that is must-watch TV beyond the must-watch TV. But we're getting a little bit off topic. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Real Madrid's disappointing defeat to Athletic Club.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed the Eagles and whether or not they are the best team in the NFC. We move on to discuss Real Madrid. They suffered a disappointing defeat to Athletic Club. It was a disappointing result for Real Madrid. They had an opportunity for the first time this season jump Barcelona in La Liga standings before Barcelona they ended up winning hold on. Sorry. mistake there. They had a chance to get 1 point closer to Barcelona, but instead they fall, and then they now they drop to 4 points behind. Real Madrid still do have a game in hand, so they can get that up to 1 point difference. But Barcelona, they have dropped some. They did drop points recently, and Real Madrid, they had an opportunity to pounce on that, and Real Madrid, they lost themselves against Athletic Club, and it's a disappointing loss. Kylian Mbappe misses a penalty yet again, and I'm starting to get a little surprised that Real Madrid are even putting him in a position to make, to take that penalty. This is a Mbappe, this Mbappe it's clear to everybody that there's serious psychological confidence issues that he's going through at this moment in time. He doesn't look like the same player. He gets on the ball and he just doesn't look like the same player. We don't see the feel of Kylian Mbappe. He's struggling to get involved in the opportunities that he gets involved, or he tries to run in behind. He looks like a shell of himself. So, I don't know, maybe they're thinking a penalty goal can shock him back into life, but and he probably might be the best penalty kick taker on the pitch, because there is no Vinicius Jr. Out there. And yeah, he takes it, he misses. They end up losing the game. Winning goal by Gorka Gurutzeta in the 80th minute. It's a big loss for Real Madrid. They have to start taking advantage of these opportunities to cut down the lead for Barcelona. They don't want to put it too late. Now, the good thing is they only, they have one game in hand and they're only 4 points behind. So, they don't have a huge lead. Barcelona does, but this is Mbappe's second penalty that he's missed in a week. I think the biggest story here is Mbappe and his form. 2 penalties in a week that he's missed, and this is also Real Madrid's 4th loss in the last 7 games. And I have to say, in that first half, I thought Atletico played the better football. They were the protagonists. They were the aggressors. And Real Madrid were hanging on in that first half. And they looked like, in that first half, Mbappe didn't even get the ball. I mean, they had no shots on target. You didn't think, they didn't create much opportunities on the break or at all, despite the fact that Bilbao was, the aggressors, getting guys forward. You would think Real Madrid, with the pace of Mbappe, Rodrigo, could get some opportunities running in behind, but no, it was toothless. And then eventually, in Athletic Club, they've been unbeaten for a while now. They're having a good recent run. They were able to finally take the lead with the goal from Alex Bernier, and then in the 53rd minute was the penalty kick opportunity that Mbappe had to level it. He misses it. By the way, Mbappe also missed the kick in the Liverpool game as well. That's why I'm saying, why even put him in a position to take that penalty again? He's in such a vulnerable position. And I made my thoughts clear on Kylian Mbappe, and it's been a little bit personal, yes, because some of the treatment that he's had, some of the things that he's done or said and all that has been wrong, in my opinion. Some of his actions have been wrong. Some of his behavior has been wrong. And well, if you do things I believe is morally wrong, it will get personal. And it will be an attack of character. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything, but I think he's done some wrong things. His ego and his arrogance has gotten in the way of his football. And I think we're seeing exactly that. I mean, the football is always going to make you pay. Football is always going to make you pay. And I think that's what's going on right now. He's really suffering. He's in a vulnerable position, and I don't know. I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to say anything crazy, but I don't think we'll see the same Mbappe we've seen early on in his career. The way he's playing, and this is the thing. Mbappe has been, the thing people want to ignore is people are talking about Real Madrid and all that, and it's a struggling adjustment and all that. Mbappe has struggled for a while now. Mbappe really struggled at the summer's European Championship. I thought Mbappe also really struggled last season at PSG, especially in that second half of the year. I think it's not this Real Madrid thing. I just think Mbappe himself has just not been the same player for a very long time, and an alarmingly long time, because there is one thing is bad form, but this is not bad form. This is longevity of bad form, which is turning into, which, you know what they say, form is temporary, class is permanent. I think there's a drop in his level of class. I really do. This is a player that we used to talk as the best player in the world class, all that. The way he's playing right now, he doesn't deserve to be starting on Real Madrid. He's starting just based on name value in itself, because of the fact that Mbappe is on the back of his shirt, because of what he's done in his previous years in his career. Not because what he's been producing this season. He's been absolutely horrendous. And to give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess the politically correct thing to do is, the statistics are not horrible. 8 goals in La Liga this season, 8 goals in 14 games. Not the worst thing in the world, yeah. But it's the performances that is the alarming thing. And when you're playing as a striker for Real Madrid, you expected more than just that. But short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Arsenal defeating Manchester United. Before the break, we discussed Real Madrid's disappointing defeat to Athletic Club. We move on to discuss Arsenal. They defeated Manchester United. And I have to say, first of all, when I originally saw the lineup drop for Manchester United, I was interested. A lot of United fans were frustrated at the lineup with the inclusions of Tyrell Malacia, left wing back, having to go up against Bukayo Saka. Malacia, that hasn't really played much football in a very, very long time now. And then just the overall shape of it, it's a team that wasn't going to be able to create that many opportunities because, well, there's 2 attacking players on the pitch, or 2 forward-thinking players. Mason Mount, yeah, he's an attacking player or so, but it's not someone that gives you much going in behind, and he wants to find little pockets to be deadly. But he's more of a midfield player in his nature. The only players looking to go in behind is Garnacho and Højlund. And we saw in that first half, they really struggled to get in behind. They really, really struggled to create anything. Manchester United did, and I'm not blaming Amorim. He's still adjusting and he's trying to figure out his team and all that, and it is a transition. It is difficult. It always is difficult for new Manchester United managers coming in, but it's same old toothless Manchester United. And that Arsenal in that first half, picked and choose their moments, didn't really dominate it. I think we're setting a precedence where we're seeing in recent games that Arsenal has been able to turn it on in terms of creating more chances and being more open-ended. But I think Mikel Arteta has almost developed this philosophy against teams with more quality. We're gonna play a little bit more on the back foot. We're gonna allow, we're gonna be a little bit more safe in our approach, and I don't mind it, I guess, but it makes for bad football. I thought overall this game was a really horrible game to watch. I was so bored. Just wanted to get that out of there. United, again, looked toothless in attack, especially in that first half. Højlund Garnacho didn't offer much. Mason Mount, he's been the same Mason Mount that we've seen out of Manchester United, just not involved, just not good enough, quite frankly. And it's been that for his entire tenure at Manchester United. And then eventually in the second half, I thought Arsenal decided to go for it a little bit more, opened up a little bit more, and they got the 2 goals. Both goals came off corners, set pieces, which has been a theme for Arsenal this season. I have to say, you look at that standings. Those standings right now, Arsenal are sitting second place, right, in the Premier League. Those standings would look Arsenal is sitting third, actually. Chelsea has the point differential tiebreaker over Arsenal. Those standings would look a whole lot different if it wasn't for them set piece goals. This game came off a set piece. The game against Tottenham, they won that game on a set piece. Against City, they took advantage of a set piece as well. Set pieces have been a hugely important part of Arsenal, and I don't think that's a bad thing, being good at set pieces. But when that's your main form of creating chances or scoring goals, Arsenal need to be a little bit more deadly in the attack. Because look, eventually teams are gonna figure out how to defend Arsenal's set pieces. Eventually, I don't know, and it seems like the remarkable thing about it is, it seems like every set piece goal Arsenal is taking, it comes from bad defending. I mean, both set pieces, in my opinion, in this game came from horrible defending. Where's the United players attacking the ball? Where are the United defenders attacking the ball? The defenders have a responsibility in that as well. But yeah, but apart from set pieces, I didn't think Arsenal really threatened much other than that. I don't think they didn't even have that many clear-cut opportunities other than that, especially in that first half. I thought in the second half, once they turned it on a little bit, there was a few chances here and there. I think Martinelli had a half chance. And United also had an opportunity to level it after the initial goal from Timber with a set piece of their own. But Raya had a really, really good save. And, that could be the difference sometimes in these games. One set piece goes down for Yuri Timber. The other one, it's a fingertip save, and it's, inches away from a completely different game. And that's the fine margins of football. And with the fine margins of football, with the fine margins of football, that really is the difference. And I just think Arsenal, they need to be more expansive if they want to really be in it. I still think the Premier League, in terms of winning the Premier League, is going to be a little bit difficult with the way Liverpool is looking. And I'm still not ruling out Manchester City, and we know Arsenal are almost allergic to winning trophies. But no, I've been really, really bored with that game. I was really, really bored with that game, and yeah, I'm disappointed overall with the quality of the game. But I think it's something we need to expect from Arsenal going forward against some of the teams with more talent in the Premier League. They're kind of be more pragmatic rather than aggressive, which I don't mind if Mikel Arteta seems that's the most efficient way to win titles. You see how Liverpool look this season compared to last season? Don't think there's a difference. And I'm not saying by any means Slot is a better coach than Jurgen Klopp. No, hell no. But what I am saying is this Liverpool team is a little bit more balanced. Under Klopp, they're going 99 miles per hour from minute 1 to minute 90. Sometimes that's just unsustainable unless you have that crazy Liverpool teams that Jurgen Klopp had earlier in his tenure. I think with Arne Slot right now, they're more balanced. They're more balanced. And I'm not saying they're pragmatic, but they're definitely not that heavy metal 99 miles per hour from minute 1 to minute 90 Liverpool under Klopp. And I think that gives them a better chance to compete this season. And we're seeing dividends of that with how the Premier League standings looks right now. But by the way, they dropped points too, so that's interesting as well. They dropped points to Newcastle. But thank you guys, though, for tuning into the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to